part of our institution, Youth Bridge support to promoting the rights and defending young women in this country, we have launched the Youth Activism Campaign in support of the 16th Day of Activism. And the Youth Activism Campaign has three components. One is to do a kind of community outreach on gender-based violence and harassment that are melted against women in strong support of the C190, the International Labour Organization Convention. And another one is to have a spotlight interview where we bring the voices of young women, especially those of them who are policy actor in the public and private sector, to talk about the issues of gender-based violence and how to uh, organize and mitigate the strategies that will also reduce the issues of violence against women, not only in homes, in workplaces, and in public spaces. We have outreach that will highlight messages and media engagement, ensuring that we can also have the message across. Since the 26th of November up to the 10th of December, we will have youth engagement into violence against women and how we can also rally around our national support and calling on central government, calling on partners to help to reduce this. I mean, it's surprising to know that up to this point, even though the awareness is on, but you still got the harassment and violence continue to increase in Liberia. This is not something good for us, even though our culture is not really accepting that open space, but we continue to ensure that we want to use this time to also say that we reach out to institutions that their voices will help us to release on the national message.
Welcome to Youth Bridge TV. I am Tidange Traore. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Lakshmi Moore. I currently work as the country director for ActionAid Liberia.
What is Action Aid views about gender-based violence and harassment?
ActionAid views sexual and gender-based violence and sexual harassment as a violation of women's human rights, your basic right to move freely, to work freely, to live a life free of violence. Sexual harassment violates people's freedom.
How can we stop gender-based violence in Liberia?
Gender-based violence in Liberia can be stopped in many ways. The first way is having a very strong legal framework, have very strong laws, but not just laws on the book, but laws that are being implemented that prevent people, that are very clear, that says if you do this, this is a crime. Like making it clear that rape is a crime, making it clear that if you beat your wife, it's a crime. So once you have those strong laws and policy, it also helps to prevent it, but then also investing in the services that people will need. So if my husband beat me, can I be able to go to the police to report it? Would the police have all of the resources they need? The schools have policies to prevent teachers from violating the rights of students. What happens if you report it? Will they be fired? And also the culture, the way we think about women, the way we think about women's bodies, the way we, a lot of times when you walk in the street, they'll say, oh, mind your body. But that is not a compliment because you're making somebody feel uncomfortable.
So what is ActionAid doing about the gender-based violence?
So ActionAid is a human rights organization, and one of our main focus has been on women's rights because we recognize that in the Liberian society, generally women's rights are not where they need to be. A lot of women still don't have right to property. A lot of women still don't have rights to land. A lot of young women, especially in the rural areas, can't go to school because of early childhood marriage or other practices. So actually has been working on sexual gender-based violence as a structural issue to the Liberian development. We feel like the only way Liberia can be fully, inclusive, developed, and making sure that growth, prosperity, everybody can sort of reap the benefits of the peace and stability is to make sure that women have equal access to participate. And so preventing sexual and gender-based violence is one way for ensuring that women can fully participate.
What would be your advice to the central government?
My advice to the government overall, so from the local government to even the national government, is first is to make sure that we have clear laws on the books. I mean, right now we have the rape law. We also just recently passed the domestic violence bill, but we still haven't addressed female genital mutilation. We still haven't addressed the loophole in our law that allows girls under the customary system to be, 60 years. They are recognized, but in the statutory law, say 18. So the law has to be very clear, very strong, and very decisive on preventing violence against women and girls. But then where you already have laws, the government needs to implement it, put money in and resources towards making sure that you can enforce the law, and then have programs in place so that people are able to either be more informed but also be able to access the services that they need, especially the justice system, so that they can pursue their cases.
What is Action Aid position on ILOC 190?
So Action Aid supports the ILO convention. We have one global campaign. So Action Aid is a member of a federation that works in over 45 countries. And we have a 10-year strategy. And as part of that strategy, we're working on addressing violence against women in the workplace. So ILO convention has been really key to our advocacy.
Yeah, I'm Fred Fennick and I'm from the UK and I'm a program manager for an NGO called Peace Child International.
What is your own view about gender-based violence in Liberia?
From my understanding, I believe that it's quite a prevalent issue. So there is a lot of gender-based violence that is happening, and often it's against particularly young women. I think that it's obviously not particularly good and it's abhorrent, and that it's an issue that really needs to be solved, because I think especially women are incredibly important to the Liberian society and economy.
How can we stop gender-based violence in Liberia?
I think that there are two sides to it. So one is to continue the economic empowerment of women, for them to understand their rights and to be able to create their own livelihood, which therefore reduces their need to have the support of someone who maybe is being violent towards them. And the other side of it is about awareness and sensitization, mainly with males, that is to help them understand that women are there to be seen as an asset and a partner and a support mechanism, and not as the, I would say, point of anger for a man to be able to take out his vexations or his frustrations on.
What would be your advices to the Liberian government and its citizens about gender-based violence?
That I think they need to understand that this is still a very patriarchal society, and that men still dominate most aspects of it, and that will not stop gender-based violence until the whole society really does take a look at itself and realize that it is skewed towards the patriarchy. And therefore, if a society is skewed towards patriarchy, gender-based violence will always be seen as a norm, whether it's acceptable or not to some extent.
Welcome to Youth Bridge TV. I'm Tidange Trawale. Will you introduce yourself?
My name is Clarence Dotuna.
What is your own view about gender-based violence in Liberia?
Well, that's a big issue. A lot of people don't know what is gender-based violence. And for me, I think more needs to be done, especially in schools and high schools and elementary school, even in college. We need to start to educate the people on what is gender-based violence. For example, a man and a woman could be living together and could argue all the time. Being that the man is the head of the house, so we say in Liberia, he beats his wife when he's unsatisfied. He beats on his wife, he beats on his kids, and all of these stuff. So I think it's important that we as educators, we as community leaders, we as journalists, as pastors, we need to go out in the community to talk to people on what is gender-based violence.
So after we talk to people about gender-based violence, how can we stop gender-based violence in Liberia or to reduce it?
It's a collaborative fight. We all need to get on our feet and preach the good news about gender-based violence, how it impacts us, how it affects us, So there is a need that is a collaborative effort that we all work towards it. I think that's the only way that we can reduce gender-based violence.
So, what would be your advice to the Liberian government and its citizens based on gender-based violence?
Well, the Liberian government needs to do more. The pressure is on the government because we all look up to the government. They have to create the avenue for the Liberian people to follow. The parents themselves, the religious institution themselves, the schools themselves. This is a collaborative effort. All hands should be on deck. Everybody should come together on this one. This is a fight for the betterment of this country. This is not a fight for just an individual.
My name is Shiny J. Rogers. I'm the Assistant Gender Coordinator for Youth from Wash, Liberia.
What is your own view about gender-based violence in Liberia?
First of all, gender-based violence can be defined as all forms of violence against men and women of all ages. And in Liberia, there are too many cases of gender-based violence. And I think the reason is because women and men feels that there are certain roles that is attached to a certain gender. For example, men are responsible to do certain things and women are responsible to do certain things. So you'll find out that it will cause confusion because not every time a woman can be in a position of doing something that gender requires her to do.
Well, how can we stop gender-based violence in Liberia or to reduce it?
Okay. The best way, in my opinion, is from the homes. Because when I rely on government to do everything, if parents are raising children in the homes, they should not make that children to have that mindset that okay, a child is supposed to do this particular thing and a boy child is supposed to do this particular thing, because that mentality will grow up in the children, and when they become adults, it will cause problem for them. There is this tendency in Liberia that when something happens, for the first 1 or 2 weeks, it will fill the whole entire country. After you know it, that person is free and they are walking up and down in the country. That has to stop.
Welcome to Youth Bridge TV. I'm Tidange Traore. What is your name?
I'm William Foko.
What is your own view about gender-based violence in Liberia?
It is something that in our modern society causing a lot of problems for we the youth and young people. And I think it's necessary that we all can pull hands together to fight against it by telling the national government to put some regulation in place, because it's almost like our young sisters coming up. Because they always see the way whenever those things happen. So in my view, it's not good in our modern society as of this generation.
I am Tidange Traore. Will you introduce yourself? What is your own view about gender-based violence?
Gender-based violence is about ill treatment of women, the kind of cases women, when they see the women with their children going away from them, and rape cases and things, they go for the punishment. The punishment never can really be for you. Maybe there's certain issue that can be in the room, because you're not here to know and bring on your wife. But maybe something they talk. So they kind of people, they need people to advise them, talk to them. But if they can't hear it, they need to go through their punishment.
So what are some of the punishment you think can be necessary for men that can beat their wife or wife that can beat their husband?
You carry them to jail. They rape. I'm not going to say what they rape. Real rape, you go to jail for life.
So what would be your final message to the government of Liberia and its citizens about gender-based violence?
Gender-based violence their friend or doing about that. The government should take it very serious, because there are certain things that can be in a car, I can be hearing people. Now someone raped 13-year-old old, now even 37-year-old baby. So now 6 years can be listening to them, no, talking about so now it can be ritual. They kind of people that want to need to really stay strong, to take them to real. Stop this. Then so they kind of cases that the person will go to left hand chair.
Welcome to you. I am Suzanne.
Thank you. My name is Esther Bolo Kokoro Wati.
What is your own view about gender-based violence? What do you think about gender-based violence?
My own view, like, if men do away, no, that console a man first to stop it. But if he refuses to stop, then he can be disciplined.
So how can he be disciplined?
No, people in my issue. If my man beating on me, those people counsel to stop. Whoever to stop, he refuses to stop. For me, if I know he beating on me, I will leave before he pay for me.
So what about men that can rape their children?
If any man rape, that's likely excuse me, without raping rebel, there are some women know that about 15, 16, when men rape them, my view is not put them in jail for 30 years. Or that no babies then, 6, 7 years, any man rape them, no, they kill the person when I kill him.
So how can we reduce the gender-based violence like this?
Men lots of putting their children. I heard that the guy for them, if they go there with them and they refuse to support their child for me machine. If I take a man somewhere that is going to support a child, when he refuses to support a child, so I'm not going to do anything. I treat my son, I treat my child, I support my child. If I will not put him to support a child, some of them that you are pushing, you get somebody put him behind back, he say that for food work, to put him outside the COT, come on there for the COT. If I support my son, and I treat my son like this.
So what are your message to the government of Nigeria and the citizens of Nigeria about the gender-based violence?
My advice today, so we in Nigeria, like the main Alofia, 7-6-year-old child will get there, but to stop. If they don't stop, if they keep doing it, so when they kill them, when I kill them.
Welcome to Youth Bridge TV. I am Suzanne Allen. Mommy, would you mind introducing yourself for What is your own view about gender-based violence in Liberia?
Now we say that we the women, we the man, we the father. Special, I will say here where I say my nature from a younger time and the age where I am. The children are there, I don't know, I don't fight for them. Now, the mother said because now no choice. They were doing it from normal day and all until they found what we do.
So how do you stop it?
Yeah, maybe government will.
All you had to offer was friendship.
Before the hour we eat will be there. If we don't see one there, our children to support them. That one man in Liberia, they don't want to do it. You can't say in the world for Liberia, they will never be to 500 men. We can take care of them.
So what would be your message to the government of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria?
For the message, we just thank you to God, all my help. Because for the fire, for the second. When maybe companies start coming, when the web was on and they were working, they don't get time for it. So very, we don't know what to do.